It is officially 2 weeks until our family starts school. I'm homeschooling 5 different grades this year, plus a toddler tagging along, which, as I've said before, is the hardest part of homeschooling. And today my husband took the kids out of the house. This was kind of a planned outing to give me a day at home. I told him, I just really need some time to read, like uninterrupted, and when I'm not about to fall asleep. And so that's what I'm going to be doing today. And I thought I would take you along with me as I read and prepare for Ambleside Year 9. This is actually the year that my 10th grader will be doing. If you've watched any of my videos, you know that we did a few years of public school in elementary school. And not public school, we did a few years of private school in elementary school. And so when I brought them back home, I didn't start all of them at their same year of Ambleside as their grade, just because I didn't want it to be too big of a jump from what they were used to. And so we have some plans to combine some different years, but Year 9 happens to be early American history, which is one of my daughter's favorite time periods, so I didn't want to skip this year and I didn't want to shorten it. She's going to do the full Year 9, and then we'll combine years 10, 11, and 12 in her last 2 years of high school. So I've just felt some more pressure, as I'm sure is good with the high school years, to make sure that I'm meeting all of our state requirements, that I'm, preparing her for whatever she wants to study in college. And so I felt like I could use some extra time just to read and study up on that. And I will say that I think Ambleside can be intimidating to people because it's mostly just on their website. You really have to just dig through all the different articles and the different links. And sometimes when I've just been perusing the website, I'll just open different tabs on my phone or my computer of things I want to read, so that when I get a chance like today, I'll have those all ready and I'll just read them, I'll make notes. And so I thought I would take you along with me today. I definitely don't think this can replace you doing your own research, but at the same time, I know what it's like to be kind of overwhelmed with starting. When I started Ambleside Online with my oldest daughter in Year 1, I had 3 other kids, so I had 4 kids in 5 years. So when she was starting first grade, I had 3 little ones, and so already I was just like, I felt like I didn't have time to really prepare myself. And then when I brought them home from elementary school, I was going to be homeschooling 4 grades at once. I went just from 0 to 4, and I had a toddler, and then I would go on to have another baby. So I understand that feeling of overwhelm, where it's like, it is simple to just read the website, and I understand that's the best way to do it. But when I was a young mom, I feel like I would have appreciated just someone giving me enough of an overview for me to feel like I could dig in. And it doesn't replace my own research or my own reading, but sometimes the best way to learn is by doing it. And I had to learn that. So I would say, if you're feeling like I can't do Ambleside Online because I'm not prepared, I would say just literally order the books for the year you're going to do and read or listen to something about narration. Just understand about narration and understand that you're not going to do a bunch of unit studies. Do not copy all the curriculums that are doing unit studies. Just don't do it. The books themselves are enough, okay? And do the books and do narration, especially in those early elementary years. And that is literally enough to get started on Ambleside Online. And then you will learn as you go, and you'll learn to add in more things. And the videos I've made are just adding in little tips of things I've learned over the years. But I genuinely just started with the book list and the schedule and understanding that we are going to narrate after every reading. And that is enough. So I would encourage you to do that, even if you're like me and you're starting like 4 kids at one time. The Ambleside Online part doesn't need to be the hard part. The harder part may be finding the math curriculum or the reading program and all of that. But just Ambleside Online can be done with just the book list and a quick browse through the footnotes of the books when you're ordering those, and then just understanding how narration works. And I have a video on narration if that would be helpful to you. So I will admit I'm a little nervous about this school year because the last 3 school years have been so rough, and I haven't felt like I've done the type of job that I want to. And I understand I'm kind of an idealist, and I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. I want to do something well when I do it. And so that has been the challenge. But also the good thing for me in doing this is I just have enough kids that I can't really be as controlling as I would like to be. And my kids don't need me to be that controlling. So having all these kids in school has been the best thing for my personality, even though it's been hard on me and my confidence level. But I am nervous about this school year because with having older girls, I just want to make sure they're getting what they need. And then I do have a student that has an official dyslexia diagnosis, so obviously I want to spend as much time as I can helping her. She is in tutoring for that, which is a blessing, but also figuring out how she learns best and helping her be successful. And then I've got another kid set to learn to read this year, so that's always a big job. I think what's hard about that for me is it just takes so much daily repetition and consistency and sometimes things can feel a little flexible here, and I really don't want to be flexible on just the consistent time spent reading. And so 3 school years ago, I had a baby in November, and I'm not the type of person that just has a baby and is like, oh, I had another baby. Like, it's always a very life-changing time, and it takes me a long time to recover. And to be honest, because the next 2 summers we moved, once across the country and then once about an hour away into kind of our home, I felt like I haven't ever recovered back to my normal energy level, my normal abilities that I had before the 6th pregnancy. And so I don't know if it was actually having the 6th baby or if it was all the moving and stuff. But either way, the last 3 school years have felt really hard, and not like I got to the end and I was like, I did an amazing job. I got to the end and I was like, well, I'm really trusting the process here, that these living books and narration and creating an environment of learning are really the most important things. And I truly do believe that. And when I look at the way other schooling is being done or the classroom, I just do not have a fear that my kids are missing out, and I'm really thankful for that. But I also think it's healthy to constantly have that little bit of taking it very seriously, your children's education, because I think right now homeschooling has become so popular, and there are voices that make it seem so relaxed and so easy. And I don't think that your children's education should ever feel like that. I think you should always be pushing yourself to give them the best education possible. And that doesn't look like hours spent in the classroom. It doesn't look like stacks of curriculum. It is about your attitude towards learning and towards your child that's most important. So all that to say, I do have fears and I do have insecurities about it, but I also genuinely trust the process, and I trust that just those little moment by moment choices that I'm going to make in consistency and love for my kids are going to reap the harvest that I want. So come along with me as I study for Ambleside Year 9. So let me share what I've done so far as I'm reading through it. I'm just looking at the Year 9 book list. I obviously have the Bible. And for spiritual formation, I got Mere Christianity, and I got through Gates of Splendor. I thought, being a girl, she might like to read about Elizabeth Elliot. I think if you have a boy who would prefer to read about a guy, you could do the William Carey biography. And then I did get Saints and Heroes Volume 2, and I had a little copy of Morning and Evening by Charles Spurgeon, so I'm just throwing that in there and going to have her read one of those a day for part of her kind of personal devotions. Okay, so then in history, I have given her a book of centuries. I mentioned in one of my other videos, she has not really filled it out, so I think I need to be a little more involved in that. But from what I understand, and I'm going to show my ignorance here, I think just as she reads about different events, she's supposed to mark them in their place in the book of centuries, and then going to start seeing how, different events were intersecting, which I think is the coolest part of history. Okay, so I did that. I did not get the optional books. Maybe I will add those in later. I was interested in the Truth Quest history guides because I think those sound pretty interesting, but I have not gotten those yet. I am doing Churchill's Age of Revolution, and that is the only thing I'm doing. So she read from the Churchill book last year. She said it was, a more challenging style of writing to read, but I'm just going to have her keep going with that. And then for a biography, I got the biography of George Washington that is called Founding Father, Rediscovering George Washington. And the Ambleside website said it's written as moral biography after the tradition of Plutarch, that it is not plagued with revisionism like some earlier biographies treat him with just this, like, he's such a hero, he can do no wrong. And so it doesn't fall into that trap, which I think will be good. And then I also got the John Adams by David McCullough for second and third terms because I like his writing a lot. And then I also got a copy of Marie Antoinette and Her Son because I think she will be interested in reading about that. She's been interested in the French Revolution. Obviously, I like her studying different women from history too. So got those. And then for the history supplements and speeches, I got a PDF from the Facebook group by a lady named Melissa who compiled all of these in one thing. And I got that printed and spiral bound at a local print shop. And it was probably like $30 to bind it and print it. But I figured that would be a great investment for my other 5 girls to use and definitely save me time not having to look up all of these things for her. And I try to avoid being on the computer or the internet as much as possible during school. She's already going to do math and some biology on the computer, so I prefer to have these in print. Okay, for literature, I have The History of English Literature for Boys and Girls by H.E. Marshall that we used in year 8 also. I got the Isaac Bickerstaff Astrologer and Physician book. I'm just seeing The Days with Sir Roger de Coverley, and I did not order that. It looks like, okay, it has an Amazon link, so I'm going to have to order that one. Was not prepared for that. I missed that one. I got Gulliver's Travels. I got the Jonathan Swift books, the Samuel Johnson book, She Stoops to Conquer, The School for Scandal, The Count of Monte Cristo, Pride and Prejudice, and Faust, book 1. So all the literature books, those are some of the ones that I'm giving her as gifts. She already had a copy of Pride and Prejudice, so I got her a really pretty Count of Monte Cristo and Gulliver's Travels that she will be able to keep. Okay, poetry, The Roar on the Other Side is a book we used last year for year 8. And then I ordered the Oxford Book of English Verse because that was just one of the suggestions, and I liked that it was already compiled and already in a set. I can't remember. I'm going to go look at my Amazon, which one I ordered. Okay, yeah, it was a pretty hardcover book by Trad Street Press. It looks like that. And so I'll let you know how the quality is. There weren't really any reviews, but it looks nice. And I've seen this printer in other places, so we'll have to see what the formatting is like. For copywork, I mentioned that I usually just have them write down things in a book, and I'm probably going to let up on this a little bit and just let her keep a personal quote book, but not make it something she has to fill out every day. And we'll see if it does get filled out or not. But I'm trying to lighten her load where I can. Her spelling and handwriting and everything is really good. So I was going to drop dictation also this year. So grammar and composition, we haven't done any formal grammar lessons. So I actually ordered a couple different things to try with her. She mentioned to me that she would love a more self-paced grammar and not something that she has to do with me because I'm usually so busy with the younger girls. So I have Our Mother Tongue. I ordered the Jensen's Grammar, and I ordered another book that I saw referenced in the Ambleside forum. Let me see. I ordered it from Rainbow Resources because I think Amazon was out of it. It's called Easy Grammar. I ordered the 8th, 9th, and 10th grade student workbooks and teacher workbook because I'm also probably going to start it with my 8th grader. And then I was going to see if my daughter was ready for the 10th grade grammar or if we should start with the 9th grade. I don't know. So I'm going to read through those 3 different grammar books and figure out what would be best for being self-paced and what gives her enough to, with the foundation she's had. She's gotten some grammar in the Using Language Well, but I think she would prefer it to be maybe a little more referenceable, if that makes sense. And Using Language Well, they teach what different parts of speech are, but a lot of times if she had, I don't always know if they review it as much as maybe she needed, I don't know, or maybe I'm not doing it often enough. I would do it 2 times a week, but I think she would like something where it has, you know, the definitions of all the parts of speech easily accessible to remind her of things that she's learned. I'm also interested in the Paradigm Online Writing Assistant, just because it's online. I feel like I need to do some more research. Maybe I'll spend some time reading about that. But maybe she could do like grammar this semester and then get going on that. And then we add in the writing assistant. And I feel like that would take the place of the copy work and the dictation. Okay, recitation, we're going to have to figure out how to work that in. I would prefer to just do it as a family, but it may be better for her so she doesn't have to take part in our like morning time, just to give her things to memorize, and she works on them every day. All of my girls are very auditory learners, so I don't think it's going to be hard for them, but I need to just be consistent about making her review it every day. Foreign language, we're continuing Latin, getting started with Latin. No, I always do this. Visual Latin, part 2. So continuing with that. And then she's been doing Duolingo, but we probably need to do some more formal language study, and I'm going to read some about that on the forum and the website. For geography, she's going to continue with her Cetera map drills twice a week. And I got the books Longitude, and I got the Lewis and Clark book that Ken Burns helped write, because it's Ken Burns. And we'd already read Undaunted Courage, I think, in another Ambleside year. So, and then I got the Journey to the Western Isles of Scotland by Samuel Johnson. Okay, citizenship, we have Ourselves from last year. And I did get The Universe Next Door, I think. I'm going to look at my Amazon cart. Yeah. I love when Amazon tells me I've already purchased something, because I haven't looked at a lot of these books yet. So got Are You Liberal, Conservative, or Confused? And I believe the essays from John Hopkins' Notions on Political Economy are in the documents thing that I printed out. And she has a copy of Common Sense by Thomas Paine from year 8, I think. I'm not sure. Let me see when I bought that one. I think she's pretty interested in government, and I honestly have the book or the Hamilton musical to thank for that. She got really interested in that. And also the Nathan Hale books. I don't know if your kids have ever read the Nathan Hale graphic novels about history, but my girls love them, would read them over and over again, and learned so much from them. So those would definitely be a fun kind of reward book for after school that they would make a lot of connections with, and that my kids genuinely learned with. Okay, current events. I've had a couple suggestions on my videos for something to add to World Watch, and I'm going to have her do that. I actually got her a laptop this year, which was a huge thing for me because I've been very protective of my kids with internet access. And so having a laptop, there's just even less that I can do to fully lock it down than what I do with the Bark phones that I have for them. So that was a big deal for me. I know she needs it, and I know I need to give her opportunities to learn to safely navigate it. So I am probably going to let her subscribe to some of these other news stations that are family friendly that she can watch. For science, I am doing the Apologia Biology, and I had a little bit of like, oh, I'm not trusting what I say I really believe in by ordering the full biology course, and that maybe that's overkill, but I'm going to try it out with her. I do need her to get the lab, so the lab is a part of that. But as I was just flipping through the textbook, I was like, oh, this isn't really like how I want to educate. But on the flip side, I know that it's good for them to learn to work under multiple different methods, especially as they enter towards the college years. So this will be kind of our foray into that style of learning, and we'll see how it goes. And then we have Signs and Seasons from past years. The Sea Around Us, I ordered Great Astronomers and the Microbe Hunters. Nature Study, we got The Land of Little Rain, and I'm going to try and work in more nature journaling with my girls and talking about whatever. I haven't even looked at what Ambleside's studying this year. Okay, mathematics, she is doing Denison geometry. Denison has been a huge help to us. She is in logic. I got How to Read a Book. And then Love is a Fallacy looks like a document. So I'm hoping it's in that documents thing. I'm going to check out that today. Okay, artist study we'll try and do all together. And we have The Story of Painting for her to read through. I got Fearfully and Wonderfully Made by Paul Brand. I think that's a year 8 book also. And then for free reads. So I said, I think in one of my other videos, that I'm going to try and work in the free reads more, whether it's on breaks or the weekends or whatever. And so I got The Scarlet Pimpernel, and because I feel like that's such a classic, and I'm going to have her read that. And I got her some G.K. Chesterton because I think she'll like that style of writing. And I also got her, I think I'm going to have her read Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. That was my favorite Jane Austen book as a high schooler. I loved it because it was just so different from the other books. I really identified with the character. And so I'm going to have her read that. And then I got some P.G. Wodehouse books. I think I just got the first 2 books that were in his series. I've never read it. But I'm going to have her read those because I think she might like those. And then the Horatio Hornblower books, might try and work those in. I have watched the TV show, but have not read the books. And then I also got her Rob Roy because the Ambleside website said that from Sir Walter Scott, if you haven't read that one, that they suggest you start with that. So I got her that. So those are the books for year 9 that I'm having her do and that I've gotten. And now I'm going to do just a little bit of reading of all the footnotes. I've read through them some when I was like purchasing things, but I'm going to read through them more. I'm going to get the schedule printed out and I'm going to figure out what I need to divide up for her, look at the books, look at the documents, make sure everything's there. Okay, so here's how I read. I just went straight to the year 9 website. I've started kind of in the salad bar, and when I see things like this, link to read about high school credits, I'm just going to open it in a new tab, and then I'm going to collect all the articles I want to read up here and just work my way through them. And if I see another link that I feel like I need to read, I'll open that and I'll get to that eventually. But that's kind of how I keep track of just the things I want to read and need to make notes of. Okay, so it's been a little while. I have stopped for lunch. I've drunk tea. I have gone up and fetched all of the books I have for year 9. And so I wanted to walk you through what I'm going to do next. Okay, so I have printed out the 3 terms schedules and I've started looking at it and I've started crossing off for sure things I know I'm not going to do. So in term 1, we are going to do Gates of Splendor instead of William Carey. So I just crossed off the whole William Carey thing. And after doing some more reading on the website, I've decided that I'm going to get the history of the American people, which was one they said you could do instead of the Churchill. I'm going to look up the actual name for you. A History of the American People by Paul Johnson instead of Churchill's Age of Revolution. So I circled that I'm doing that one instead. I just looked through this spiral bound book that I made from the Ambleside mom that put it together, and it includes the historical documents for the first 4 weeks of term 1. It has some of the Salem witch trials accounts, which I know my daughter's going to be super interested in. And then you start reading John Wesley and Jonathan Edwards, Declaration of Rights, Patrick Henry's Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death speech. So those are all in here, super well organized. So I checked to make sure those were in there. This book also includes the poetry, which I didn't realize. So you don't need to buy the poetry book either. It's all in there. Okay, so then for history, I did end up ordering 2 of the Truth Quest books, and I wrote a little note to myself right here to add in a line that I'm going to schedule some of those readings, because I found with my girls, it's just easier for me to be very straightforward about what they should do. My oldest daughter is, if I say to split something up over the term, she's fine with doing that, but if I can take the time to go ahead and split it up, that usually works better. So I am going to split that up. And then I made a little note that the Benjamin Franklin biography, which I had not ordered yet, I didn't realize that you do a founding father and Franklin's biography. And then in term 2, it changes to the John Adams biography. So I do have a George Washington biography that she's going to read and a Benjamin Franklin biography now she's going to read. So I made a note to myself once I get that book to divide it up over 16 weeks. So when I edit this as a Word document, I'm going to do that. Okay, and then I crossed off London to Land's End because I'm going to go with the longitude book for geography. And then right here, these 3 books, Great Astronomers, Microbe Hunters, See Around Us, I am making a note to myself that it would be very easy. In fact, it's already alternating amongst those 3 books. So on her weekly schedule, I'm going to say, do either in one line, Great Astronomers or Microbe Hunters or See Around Us. So she's not reading all 3 of those books. During the week, she's reading one of those books. So she'll look at like week 1, it's going to be the See Around Us. Week 2, it's going to be a Microbe Hunter. Week 3, there's nothing. Week 4, it's going to be another chapter of the Sea Around Us. So I make note of those things that would be easy to combine, and I'll combine them on her schedule so that I don't have, 3 different entries for this on her weekly schedule when she's only reading it, 3 times in a term. Okay. I crossed off the Cloverleaf papers, which are included in this documents file, because she's going to be reading. I ordered the Roger de Coverley book that is on the schedule, which the creators of Ambleside said is a very fun read. So I'm going to have her read that instead of those papers. I looked a little bit through the papers just in here. They're very, they look pretty technical, which I think she would be fine with it, but I'm going to try out having her just going ahead and reading that book. Okay. In Gulliver's Travels, there was a note to skip chapter 5 of Brobdingnag. Brobdingnag. Never read Gulliver's Travels before. And so when you see the C note, that is the note there. And then let's see, Elements of Style. I'm making a note to split that up myself. And then, yeah, all the other parts I'm going to write in her schedule this link to this debate, which is about an hour long. I'm going to email that link to her with the title so that when she gets to that in week 11, she can just search her email and find that. Okay, then going on to term 2, I'm going to try and get all the terms done now because I know once I get into the school year, it'll be hard to do that. Okay, so once again, term 2, I circled that we're doing the history of the American people. I'm crossing off the William Carey biography because we're still going to be doing Through Gates of Splendor. And so I wrote down, I'm going to finish the Franklin autobiography readings there. That's for 16 weeks. Then you start John Adams. I ordered the David McCullough John Adams, not John Adams, I can't remember what it's called, and the American Revolution. So I am going to divide it up. I put a note there to divide up the chapters myself, up through term. My printer prints the things like flipped upside down. So she'll take all the rest of term 2 and 3 to finish that. So I'll divide that up. Okay. And then I made a note to assign those chapters. And then if you turn the page, where's my term 2? I mislabeled this because my printer is being wonky. This is 2 and this is 3. Okay. So then in term 2 on the back page, I circled that I'm doing Land of Little Rain instead of the Selborne option or Life of, I don't even know what those are. Okay, I'm doing the Land of Little Rain option, so I can cross those 2 off of her actual schedule. And then down here, again, there's some of those science books, Great Astronomers, Micro Punters See Around Us, that can be one entry during the week and they read any of those. I need to divide up the Signs and Seasons chapter, and I'm going to go ahead and divide up the Elements of Style. And then I also noticed in term 2, it could be pretty easy to combine ourselves, the economy essays, and how to read a book. I think the economy essays are that Are You a Liberal Conservative book? Let me see. Or they're in this thing. Let's see. Term 2. Okay, they are in the documents. So if I move like the How to Read a Book to the week, this would be week 13, 14, and the next chapter to week 13. And then I move Integrity and Work from Ourselves to week, what week is that? Wait, oh. Anyways, I'll show you a picture. If I move some stuff around, I can get it so they're only reading one reading from those 3 books throughout the whole term. So I'm going to do that. So those 3 books I will combine on her schedule. I'll say you either read Ourselves, the economy essays, or How to Read a Book, and I'm going to move the entries around a little bit so that there's only one of those per week. So I can combine that. Story of Painting, I am going to assign some pages because that was one she did not really enjoy last year, and I want to make sure that we are getting what we should out of it. Okay, and then on to term 3. I'm just going to make note again that I'm doing the history of the American people, not the Age of Revolution. Instead of Napoleon, I am doing the book on Marie Antoinette. So I am going to take that off and I will divide up the chapters over the term. I did not order Miracle in Philadelphia or something. I think it's under the history supplements and speeches. So I need to order that one. I didn't realize it was, well, maybe it's in here. Let me see. Okay, it's not in the documents thing. So I'm going to order that little book. and it is divided up on the schedule, so I don't need to worry about that. Again, Great Astronomers and See Around Us would be easy to combine. Signs and Seasons I am going to divide up. And then the last page, this one is a really heavy literature term. So you're reading Faust, which I don't think is going to take long, but I think it's going to be deep. Then you're reading like 7 chapters of Pride and Prejudice, and I have not looked at Pride and Prejudice recently to see, maybe they're short chapters. And then you're reading Count of Monte Cristo, and you don't finish it during the school year, you'll finish it over the summer. So that's going to be a big one. And then in here, I noticed I could combine History of English Literature, which there's only 1 chapter on term 3. Ourselves has 4 entries. And I was also going to combine it with the Elements of Style and just spread part 5 out on those weeks that they don't have Ourselves and the History of English Literature. Okay. And then How to Read a Book, I am going to divide that up myself. So just in looking through the schedule, that's what I'm going to work on now, and I just thought I would take you through that. So I am also going to look through some of the readings in the actual books to see which books I should divide up on more than one day. So that's my next step, and I'm going to make notes of that on just these term schedules. And then after I've made note of that, I am going to divide up the books that need dividing. And after I've done that, I'm going to download the Word document version of this, and I'm going to edit it, save it as my daughter's schedule, and I'm going to take out the things she's not reading. I'm going to insert my own chapter divisions, and yeah, get that all ready for her to be able to see that. So that's kind of the next steps. Okay, I have been working for probably an hour, and I have just finished all of my work on the term 1 schedule. Now, I just want to say that I have not done this every year, just because I mentioned at the beginning of this video, sometimes I literally just ordered the books and I was printed out the schedule and I'm like, here you go, and write down your narrations and all of that. So obviously that's not ideal, but if you feel like, you know, you're not in a place where you have a day to do what I'm doing, just still jump in and still find time to just start to figure it out. So I'm going to do this for the rest of the terms, but I think the bulk of the work I just did was on term 1 because a lot of these books will be repeated. So what I did is I took a look at the scheduled readings for the first couple weeks to get a feel for how long they were. Then I put next to each book a number of how many days I want to split this up during the week. So for example, Old Testament, you're reading 3 chapters a week, sometimes 4 for a lot of these. Sometimes one week you read the whole book of Ruth. So I'm going to have her split that up into 2 days, especially because I just saw on the Ambleside website that they do suggest starting to use a commentary with some of this. So if I am going to get her a commentary, which I'm going to ask my husband if he has one she can use. He's a pastor, so his office is full of them, but one that would be, you know, at a good level for her. So for example, I'm going to split Old Testament up into 2, and then I looked through the readings and I pretty much picked 1 for all of them until I got to the historical documents. So something I noticed about the historical documents is I think I want to split those up into 2 days, at least when it's going over the Salem witch trials. It's a lot, and I don't want her to, you know, just glaze over after a few pages of reading because it's too much. I would rather cut this up into smaller chunks and then get more out of it than try and force too much reading on one day. So historical documents, at least for those first 4 weeks, I'm splitting into 2 days, and then it won't hurt to have it on her schedule twice a week, because if she finishes like the John Wesley or the Jonathan Edwards stuff in one day, then she just has a free entry the next day. Okay. History of the American People I don't have yet, so I just put a blank circle there to tell me that I need to figure out the number of days, but I think it's going to be 1 because like the first week is just page 79 through 82. That's not that many pages unless the pages are very big. So I'll figure that out. And then I didn't have Truth Quest yet, so I'm going to add in an entry for that and assign some pages of that. I probably spent 10 minutes looking for Battle of the Books on the schedule and searching the website and like not able to figure it out. And I don't remember where I actually discovered it. I mean, I searched so hard, but it's in, the Jonathan Swift book, A Tale of a Tub and Other Works. It is one of the other works. So it confused me because it wasn't listed with the literature stuff, but it's the story after A Tale of a Tub. So that happens at the end of the term. And I went ahead and wrote in the pages for her of our edition of the first half and the second half. And I put down for that to take 2 days because it was pretty wordy and I don't want her to rush through it. Okay, so then the founding father biography of George Washington that I got, I looked through that and I decided to split that up into 2 days a week. The Benjamin Franklin biography I don't have yet. It looked pretty short on Amazon and it's over 16 weeks, so I think that will be good for just 1 day, and I'm going to write in the page numbers that she should read. Longitude, I divided that up into 2 days a week, so she can read either 1 chapter a day and 1 chapter the next day, or if it's just 1 chapter assigned, she can split that up in half. Okay, then I mentioned Great Astronomers, Microbe Hunter, and See Around Us. I was going to say an either or with those. And Microbe Hunter and See Around Us, I felt like would be good split into 2 days a week. Great Astronomers maybe didn't need that because some of the chapters are already split in half, but I'm just going to put that on there. So I have 2 different entries for that. Signs and Seasons, I went ahead and divided up based on the different sections. So like the first week I have page 119 through 120. The next week is page 121. The next is 122 through 126 and so on. And she ends on week 10 for the term of that. But I said for that, just take 1 day. It's just a few pages a day, but it gives you some good things to observe. So I want to give her time to think about those things. History of English Literature, I know I own it. In fact, I think I know what it looks like, and I have searched all of my books and can't find it. So it's going to pop up here somewhere. And when it does, I will assign those pages, but I can't right now. But that was a book she said she liked when we talked about year 8. And I think it'll be interesting because it does go over Jonathan Swift in there, which she will be reading a lot of this term. Okay, Isaac Bickerstaff, I said to split up into 2 days. The language looks a little, what's the word? Not modern. And so I want her to take that slowly. The Roger de Coverley I had as 1 day. Gulliver's Travels I split up amongst 3 days. And then Tale of a Tub I split up over 2 days. So my thinking was 3 of the days she'll read Gulliver's Travels and 2 of the days she'll read Tale of the Tub as part of her kind of like literature. If there's ever anything that pairs up nicely like that amongst the 5 days of school, I'll try and do that, especially if they're similar subjects. So again, that happens with Ourselves, which I broke into 1 day a week, and it confused me a little bit because I'm using the modern paraphrase, and they do have her original page numbers in here, but I thought that might be confusing to my daughter. And then it's called Cheerfulness in this one, not Gladness. So I made a note of that for her. And I'm going to have her do that 1 day a week. And then reading through Are You Liberal or Conservative? I'm not sure where it went. Oh, here it is. It looks like a short little book, but you read it in 9 weeks. And it seems like it gets pretty deep into some different things. And so I was going to split that up over 4 days because there's some weeks where she reads 4 chapters of it. So my thoughts were 1 day she could read Ourselves, and then the other 4 days she could do this book. How to read a book, I just wrote in the page numbers for that. And it has it split over 2 weeks, and I'm just going to go ahead and make the split and write down the page numbers that she should read. So it's very clear. And then Universe Next Door, I put to read over 2 days. So, for example, I could combine here the Universe Next Door over 2 days, Roger de Coverley over 1 day, and Isaac Bickerstaff over 2 days, and that's 5 days. So those 3 books will be kind of on the same entry line in her schedule. So yeah, that's what I've done for term 1, and I'm going to keep doing this for the other terms. And then I will start working on that Word document. Going back to having a little bit of each subject on every day. So I'm going to do that with Bible because like on Bible, I have the Old Testament should take 2 days, New Testament 1 day, Psalms 1 day, Proverbs 1 day. So she's reading a little bit from the Bible every day, but it's splitting up. I think if you were just to like give a kid this schedule, and tell them to split it up, first of all, I think they would save way too much for the end of the week, probably, or read way too much at the beginning of the week, depending on what kind of kid you have. And then I like to split the subjects up over the week. So the history of the American people, if that takes 1 day, and historical documents takes 2 days, and battle or the founding father book takes 2 days, that's 5 days right there. So I would try and have those split up. And then there's also the Truth Quest books, the Battle of Books, and the Benjamin Franklin book that I could split another entry line over 5 days. Longitude is 2 days, and then the combination of those science books is 2 days, and Signs and Seasons is 1 day. So those would all be on one entry line. So when you divide it up, there's going to be like 5 different readings a day, but some of them are half of a week's reading, like that. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's just when I sit down and map it out, it's really easy for me to start seeing kind of the patterns that are there. Okay, are you getting bored of seeing me yet? This is taking place over several hours, so I'm sure to you it feels like I'm saying the same thing over and over, but I've learned so much new stuff in this hour. Okay, so I just did term 2. Let's see if I had anything unusual to share. Gotta get all my papers straight. I assigned the John Adams by David McCullough chapters, and there's 12 chapters, and it tells you not to start until week 17 of term 2, but there's nothing like, I guess you're still finishing the Benjamin Franklin at that point, but it's fine. Since that would make 24 weeks over terms 2 and 3 to finish it, I am just going to do 1 chapter spread over 2 weeks because the chapters are big. The first chapter is pages 17 to 77 or 71. So that's a big chapter. So I am splitting that up over 3 days, assuming the Franklin is still being split on 1 day and the history of the American people is on 1 day. That gives me a 5-day history entry to put on the schedule. Chesterfield. Okay, so these, it took a while to find these. They are not in the PDF of documents that I printed out, but they are on the website. And so I think I'm just going to print them off the website and make a little folder of them so she can read them out of like printed. I don't like to send her a lot of links to read during the school day. I think I've already said that. And so I have that for 1 day. They're just little short letters written to his son, I believe. Historical documents. Okay. Burke's plea conciliation is the first read, and it is long. I was just like flipping and flipping through it. So I'm going to give her a little warning on that she's probably going to want to split that 1 week up over 5 days. But the rest of the readings are totally doable in 1 day. So I think I'm going to give her 2 days for those with the reminder that first week 13 is very, very long. And so that would make Chesterfield 1 day, the historical documents 2 day, the play she's reading, She Stoops to Conquer, and the School of Scandal, 1 day, and Common Sense on 1 day. So that's another 5-day history chunk that she can do. I thought I could swear I owned Common Sense by Thomas Paine. I thought I gave it as a gift to my oldest daughter in like a really nice bound copy. I didn't, but maybe I did. I just can't find it. I bought one of these books at Costco. You know how Costco will have those like compilations of art or historical documents. Bought this. It has it in there. So we're good to go. I'm going to put that on her bookshelf for term 2. And then, okay, I got super confused with geography because it has Western Islands of Scotland. And then I was like, I thought that Western Islands of Scotland was assigned for term 3 and term 2 was supposed to be the Lewis and Clark. And with the little asterisk next to the title in the book list, that is what term it's on. So I looked and it said, you could schedule Lewis and Clark and start Western Islands of Scotland in term 3. So that's what I'm going to do. So the Lewis and Clark book it's the one by Ken Burns and someone else who's probably famous. I just don't know who they are. Dayton Duncan. Anyways, really beautiful book. Lots of pictures. I think she's really going to enjoy this. And it has 12 chapters. So I'm splitting that up over the 12 weeks, but I'm giving her 2 days a week to read each chapter because they're pretty lengthy and there's lots of interesting footnotes to read. Okay. And then I'll pick up Western Islands of Scotland in the next term. History of English Literature. That's the book I can't find that I know I have. I'm guessing that's just going to be 1 day. History of Rassalas. I'm probably butchering that name. Prince of Abyssinia by Samuel Johnson. These are nice and short, so I have that on 1 day. And Land of Little Rain is somewhere around here. It wasn't iffy for me if I should split it up into 2 days or 1 day a week. The first week, is about 20 pages. And then week 5 is about 20 pages. But all the rest are about 10 pages. So I'm going to have her just read it on one day. I think that it should be interesting enough and quick enough of a read that she's okay with that. But we'll play it by ear. So then great astronomers, microbe hunters see around us. I'm saying do one of these each week, and I'm letting her do that over 2 days. Signs and seasons, I went ahead and split up that chapter over the whole term. Elements of style is another book that I can't find right now, but it's spread over the whole term, so I'm sure it's a one-day read. Okay, and then ourselves, the economy essays, and how to read a book, I'm combining to be one of those a week. And that's the one I did a bunch of moving around of ourselves and how to read a book so that they would all just have one of those readings a week. And the universe next door I have as a 2-day a week read, and the story of painting I am combining with the universe next door because it was just 9 pages for that Toward Revolution chapter. So I stuck it on week 28. Wait, no, I'm flipping. I'm trying to see what weeks this lines up with. My week 16, my week 20, and my week 24, because I don't read the universe next door. She doesn't read the universe next door on those weeks. So I'm going to have her split up the chapter of story of the painting on those weeks. Okay. This is probably only making sense to someone who is literally looking at the year 9 schedule. But that's how I'm splitting that up, and I'm moving on to term 3 now. Okay, and term 3 is done. That also went much faster. Some notes. I don't have Marie Antoinette yet, but I'm planning on it just taking 1 day a week. Same with Founding Brothers. I don't have that book yet, but planning on that taking 1. And so History of the American People, Founding Brothers, 2 days on John Adams, 1 day on Marie Antoinette. That's a 5-day chunk. And then Miracle of Philadelphia and Historical Documents, I have taking 2 days each. I don't have the Miracle in Philadelphia book yet either, but it's 2 chapters a week, so I'm thinking 1 chapter a day, 2 times a week. Great Astronomers and See Around Us, I have taking 2 days a week and doing either of those, either or. Signs and Seasons is 1 day a week. I divided it up for her. And Western Islands of Scotland, I don't have that book yet, but I'm planning on it being 2 days a week. And I'm going to use the schedule from term 2, since I'm doing Lewis and Clark in term 2, start with where term 2 started with. Okay, on to literature. This is the one, remember I was looking at it and I was like, wow, this is a really big literature chunk. So I just looked at Faust, and like the first week is 27 pages. And so I was like, oh my word. But one side's in German and one side's in English on the pages. So it's actually only less than 14 pages. I'm going to have her do that in 2 days. And then the Pride and Prejudice, the chapters weren't too bad. It's probably about 30 pages or less per week. So I'm going to have her split that up over 3 days. So Faust and Pride and Prejudice will be a literature entry. Count of Monte Cristo, I'm going to have her split on all 5 days, a chapter a day. And then History of English Language, Elements of Style, and Ourselves are all combined as an either or, taking 1 day. And Universe Next Door, 2 days, and How to Read a Book, 1 day. So that's another 5-day chunk. Okay, so me talking about how I'm chunking those things up is all going to make sense. I'm going to go and make my schedule right now, and then you're going to see what I'm talking about if that didn't make sense. Okay, I have finished all of these documents. That was quite a lot. I am not a big computer design person, so I do very basic Word documents and stuff like that. But I thought I would show you what I printed out and have this all ready for her year 9. Okay, so this is what I printed out for her first term schedule. So this will go just on the wall next to her desk, or some of my girls like to keep it on a clipboard with the other thing. But it just gives her what she's supposed to do every day. And this looks like a lot, but some of it only takes a few minutes. So as you know, Monday is a day that I try and keep lighter because we usually do something as a family because it's my husband's day off. So I calculated her math lessons, and she's fine to finish the geometry if she does 4 maths a week for 36 weeks. So that was a nice little break for her and her daily work. And then things like touch, type, read, spell, it's just typing. And once she finishes that program, I'm going to let her be done with that. Current events is just reading or watching a couple of the news options I'm going to give her. And then maps and grammar switches off working on that. That's map drills on Cetera, the Cetera website, or the grammar book that I am going to pick. And then I think I'm going to let her be independent in Latin, Plutarch, and Shakespeare. Maybe do the Shakespeare as a family, but I might do Plutarch and Shakespeare and Latin with my second and third borns together, and let my older daughter be mostly independent. And then here's her Ambleside schedule. So again, this looks like a lot, but some of these are the readings split in half. So they should take, less than 10 minutes per reading, plus she will do a written narration for all of these things. Okay, so I will print a new one of these each term, and I'll change these Ambleside books. And some of my daughters like to have a clean one of these every week, and then they cross off as they do things. This daughter is fine just looking at it, and then she crosses off on this page. So I will print this on some cardstock, and she can post that in her room to look at. My other daughters that like to cross stuff off, I'll just print it on copywork each week, and then they can cross off as they work on things. So this is the Ambleside book list schedule that I have edited, and I've taken out the books that we aren't doing, and I am going to put in there, this is still needs to be edited because I have not received all of the books that I need to split up, like the Benjamin Franklin biography. I'm going to fill in the chapters based on what I see when I get it. But this will be her term 1, so she can look at it like that. So everything that's on this page is on this page, and last year I was able to fit all of it on one page, which was nice. This year I was not able to do that, even though I took off the listing for poetry, because poetry is listed on her daily work, so I didn't feel like she needed that listed here. So here is term 2, and I edited this. I added in the John Adams chapters. I'm going to have to add in the Franklin chapters. Let's see what else I added in. Lewis and Clark instead of the Scottish geography book. I filled in the Signs and Seasons pages that I wanted her to read. I cannot find this book, but when I do, I'm going to edit it. I moved these things around a lot so that she could either read ourselves the economy essays or how to read a book. And I filled in the story of painting on the week she didn't have the universe next door. And then here's term 3. I finished those chapters. I put in the Marie Antoinette book, but I need to get the book to fill in the chapters. And then the Western Islands of Scotland, I had to take the readings from term 2 and stick those in there. Okay, so that was part of my big prep day, was just going through all those books. There were a few things I didn't get to. I didn't get to looking at her biology course and figuring out how many days a week she needs to break that up into. I want to do that. I did look through her geometry and figure out how many days that's going to take, so that's good. But yeah, I think I got most of the work done I need to for year 9 and feel much more confident going into it. And it was really good that I did that because I was missing a lot of books. I don't know how that happens, but usually when I'm reading a lot and researching, it's just very distracted with all the stuff going on around me. So it was nice to have some quiet time. So what else am I going to do regarding Ambleside? Well, my 8th grader is going to be starting year 7, and that is a year I've never done yet. So I'm probably going to do the same thing with year 7 when I get a chance, and make sure that I have it split up for her. And then I'm going to do a lot of this for my year 5. She's 7th grade, but starting year 5. I'm just going to I haven't done that year in a while, so I'm going to look through those books again and make a schedule for her. One thing I noticed I didn't do as much of with my oldest daughter is I didn't do as much purposeful dividing up of harder reads and lighter reads, because she just has so many readings. I'm not sure how beneficial that would be to her, because she's, reading 5, 6, 7 readings a day. So when you get to that amount, I feel like, you're going to have some hard ones in there and you're going to have some easy ones in there, and it's all going to work out. So we'll see how it goes. She and I may edit that as we go throughout the year to see what the workload is like. But I feel really good about this. I'm very thankful to my husband for giving me some undistracted. Definitely needed to be undistracted. And I think that's how I caught a lot of things that I'd missed. But I don't know if that was helpful to anybody, and I can let you know at the end of the year how it actually went with all this preparation. But that is year 9, my prep for year 9.
P.S.
I found it in case you were worried about me. Was not going crazy, but I was gathering up year 7 books and went up to my nightstand because I have a big stack of books that I'm trying to pre-read for year 7, and it was up there along with the other books I thought I was missing. So yay me, I was trying to think ahead and ended up wasting my own time. Pretty. I love those colors of the mom. I wish there was really a goose that color in the world. So pretty. Okay, we're gonna play a little. Learn a peacock? Maybe. For the letter P. Okay, so I am going.
The food bee.
Yep. Okay, can I tell you what these cards say?
What?
Sock. Snail. Oh, I know. Sun. 6. This is a stamp. Sled. This is a nest. This is a goose. This is a violin, and this is a worm. Okay? Now, I'm going to mix these all up. We are going to visit a friend, and this friend loves things that start with the letter S. Sound at the beginning. So we only pack things that start with a S sound. Can you do that? Do we pack that one? Okay, just stick it on there.
Sun. Snail.
Yeah. So we pack that.
Well, we pack a snail.
I don't know. This friend is weird. She only likes things that start with an